Oh, what an intro. Holy shit. Season 4, episode 10 of Cobra Kai. Are you familiar with the Cobra Kai TV show?
No, tell me all about it.
Okay, well, did you ever see The Karate Kid?
Yes.
Okay, this has nothing to do with that. It's complete, total opposite worlds. All right, so here we go, guys. It starts off, once again, we have another, it's kind of like episode 8 in the intro, where it's a slow roll. You don't know who we're about to look at. Mm-hmm. The camera's panning, and then it's totally not who you think. It's Stingray. Just like in episode 8. You think it's somebody else, and it's Stingray. They really fooled with our heads because we thought it was Miguel.
They did.
They give us this Miguel cliffhanger where he's screaming out in pain, Sensei! And it's like, we're like, oh, not again. Miguel's always getting hurt this season. And then, or last season. And now, where are we? And then it's not, Miguel's fine. Stingray, though, is beaten to all hell. That was a dark time.
Oh, it was brutal.
Gosh, it was, as much as this show gave it some levity, it's just dark, and it's so sad seeing him all beaten up and sitting in the hospital bed when he's he's a sweet guy is the funny thing.
Yeah, it really broke my heart.
Yeah, so very sad to see him like that. It was good to get some resolve as to what had happened after the Terry Silver thing, because I actually thought he was dead. I thought Terry Silver beat him to death.
I think he almost did.
Yeah, but as we know now, well, we'll talk. That's later in the episode. We'll talk about that as to what happens. All right, so then we get back to the tournament. Tournament's been going on now for one episode, now into the second episode. Really good stuff. We've got Meat, as they call Dimitri now. They call him Meat. That's his street name now, Meat.
Yeah.
Meat is fighting with Robbie. And this is another example of what I was talking about in yesterday's video, where I would have enjoyed having a little bit of the drama between them, because there's a lot of narrative there that we didn't explore this episode.
Yeah.
Remember, Robbie was defending Meat back in season 2. And there was the mall fight, and there was a real moment for both of them when Robbie stepped in. He was the alpha male to defend him against Hawk, of all people. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, where Dimitri actually has to fight Robbie. And I think that alone could have been an interesting story, but they didn't really bother with that. They just...
No, not so much. It was all about the fists.
Who?
Fists. The fists.
What, just having them fight?
Yeah.
Well, they use their feet, too. And okay, so those guys...
I stand corrected.
I'm sorry. I was confused. I'm like, what do you mean the fists? I didn't know if you were referencing something. So... They get their fight there, and I do like that Daniel. Daniel's great in this episode. In this whole episode, he's great.
It's taken him 10 episodes, but he finally got it.
He's finally there. That moment where Dimitri turns to Daniel after the fight with Robbie, and he says, "Oh, I tried, I couldn't do it."
He's like, "Okay,
yeah, and
he's good.
Yeah, he's good." That's what he said. and Daniel just looks at him. He goes, "Nah, man, you did great." Yeah. There's something really nice between Daniel and Dimitri. And then also we saw some good stuff with Daniel and Hawk in the last fight, and we're about to in the next fight too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, what I really like about Dimitri is, when he's fighting in this tournament, you see some real fierceness in him, and this is the kid who started off in Cobra Kai, going to the dojo and saying, I don't want to get hit, kicked, or punched, and the other Cobras are just going to have to accept it. And now he really had some intensity to his fighting, but unlike Hawk and some of the other kids who started off in Cobra Kai, he has remained very true to who he is. His character has so much integrity. His character, meaning his values and whatnot, don't change depending on who he's friends with or hanging out with at the time.
Yeah. He's like the best kid on the show. He doesn't have an arc of up and down, evil and not evil, and selfish and not selfish. Dimitri's just a good kid. His arc, the only real change for him is that he's found his ball sack.
He's gained so much confidence. But honestly, he had quite a bit of confidence even in season 1. It was just in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
He was very comfortable in his nerdiness, and I've got to play the long game.
I've always been very intimidated by people of the opposite sex. including my mom. What do you say?
Yeah, something like that.
Like, I mean, how that turned into love between him and Yaz, I'll never understand.
I know.
Yeah, that's TV show license.
He's been my favorite character, honestly, since season 1.
Yeah, so seeing him lose to Robbie, it made sense with the story, and I thought that he lost gracefully, and it was understandable. There was no way he was going to beat Robbie.
No.
But again, could he use more narrative there, a little bit more of the kind of back and forth between them, and we didn't really get any of that. It was just these two guys fight, and then when Eli steps up, and I'm loving the relationship between Eli and Mr. LaRusso, because I'm calling him Mr. LaRusso now.
Yeah, you are.
And I say that because Eli is the only character who's had a close relationship with in my opinion, with all 3 senseis.
Right. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Right? I mean, you could say, well, no, that's not true. A few of them have had all 3, but like Robbie was only really close with Daniel. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was, and Johnny was never really his sensei.
Right.
Yeah. And Robbie never liked Kreese from day one. And I think you could say that about a lot of them. But the only one who really has truly taken on all 3 senseis and internalized all their lessons and really embodied them is Eli. Mm-hmm. And I really like this. I like that. I think this became a really nice story between him and Daniel, where Eli, if you think back to what happened in this fight, the first thing Daniel told him was the best advice Eli really has ever gotten. Was remember Eli said, what did he say at the beginning of that fight? He said something like, something about how he wanted revenge, right? He's like, I'm going to get Robbie. He said, I'm going to get Robbie for what he did to me. Yeah. Right. Referring to when they cut off his mohawk. And then Daniel said, no, he centered him. Remember how quick that was? Daniel said something. This is where, as much as the show kind of laughs at Daniel and picks on him, they really do him justice sometimes too, because he's easy to pick on. He's a bad guy about a lot of things. He doesn't learn lessons at all. I mean,
he's very flawed.
Oh, but these few scenes here with Eli, I thought were great. It brought out the best in Daniel and the best in Eli we've seen all 4 seasons.
I agree.
Wasn't it? It was just beautiful. I really dug that. Some of those scenes really got to me. And then when Daniel centered him and he said, no, you're going to go out there. You got to think about you. And you're, and he really explained it to him well.
The fight is from within.
Yeah, the fight's from within. That's what he said. Yeah. So then Eli went out, and even though it was great advice, it didn't really work. And then he didn't give up. No one got mad at anybody. Daniel didn't get mad at him and vice versa. Eli or Hawk came back and said, he knows all my moves. He was in Cobra Kai way longer than I was. So he knows all my moves. And then that's when you start to see Daniel, like those wheels spinning. And he says, then you put him on defense. You were in Cobra Kai longer. This is when, to me, this episode clearly became the best one of the season. Because now look what we're seeing. We're seeing everybody have to change a little bit. Everybody can change. Rocky IV.
Yes.
But we're seeing like everybody's having to tilt a little bit on who they are. And here's Eli kind of bouncing back and forth between he was Hawk one minute and then he was defeated another minute. And now he's trying to just play it smart. He doesn't want to be vengeful, but he's trying to find a way. And Daniel's trying to find the way to coach him. And I thought, you know what? Out of all 4 seasons and 4 movies of Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, this is the first time I'm really seeing a believable problem solution between a sensei and a student.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I had never really truly seen it to that degree before. So anyway, I thought that was great. I love that he came back, that Eli came back, and that Daniel says, okay, then go, gave him more advice this time about using his Cobra Kai lessons, put him on defense. And then when he came back once again to LaRusso, and notice Johnny didn't get involved in any of this.
Right.
Even though Johnny was Hawk's first sensei, Johnny discovered Hawk.
Yeah.
Johnny created Hawk.
Yeah.
Right. But Johnny stayed out of all that. And it was just between Daniel and Hawk. I'm kind of surprised that the writers went that way, but I really appreciate it because I loved that. I didn't care about the fight as much with him and Robbie. I cared about how LaRusso was coaching him. That was great to me. So yeah, then in the end, what happens? Daniel had essentially, what was that last piece of advice he gave Hawk or Eli before he went back out the final time? He's like, give it your all or something.
Yeah.
All right. He's like, just give it everything you got. There was finally a point where like, maybe I'm reading too much into it, right? But what I got from it was, I think he was saying, okay, we tried having you take all my teachings about defense, etc. That wasn't going to do it. And then we tried putting you on offense, and that got you further, but here we are to draw. And finally, Daniel's like, you know what, man, just trust yourself. Get the hell out there and just whip his ass. And who could believe, who would have thought from season 1 that we would get to a point in season 4 where these two are back in the ring in a tournament, and we're actually rooting for Eli, you know?
Yeah.
After what went down in season 1, it's like, I mean, Robbie was clearly the good guy. Hawk was a prick back then. And now, you know, I'm not going to say it turned around. I mean, Robbie wasn't a straight up bad guy here, but we were all rooting for Hawk, weren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
What a fight. What a fight. Notice it was the first time since 1985 since this went to sudden death. So the last time this happened was all the way back in Karate Kid Part 3 that they had sudden death.
Yeah.
Ah, so good. So, all right, I went on a long time there. Finally, we get the fight with, we get the whole thing with Miguel. Miguel doesn't come back out. That's a shame. Johnny kind of did to him what Kreese did to Johnny long ago in a way. Right? Well, because he put winning ahead of his students' needs.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not the same way, but...
Yeah, not as cruelly as Kreese did, but yeah, he was very focused on winning and for all the wrong reasons, and Miguel was really struggling. So
internally, right?
Yeah.
With so many things, and Johnny was just, you know, oh, you don't worry, don't get that thing with your girlfriend out of your head. Don't worry about that. Focus on winning. It was like Johnny was being a little bit like Kreese, but like you said, not nearly as cruel.
Right.
Loved that Miguel went and kind of said goodbye to Sam without saying goodbye.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
When she said, "You'll be out there rooting for me, right?" And he just says, "Well, I'll always be rooting for you."
Yeah.
But meanwhile, he knew what he was going to do. He knew he was out of there.
I sensed something was amiss.
Yeah, something was not right. Then we get into the great fight with the girls. That was such a good fight. Tori,
it really was.
Tori won. We'll never really know if she deserved to win because of the shenanigans that Terry pulled. And then we get that great scene. Oh, what a great scene. I knew Terry pulled. I knew it. That when there was that scene where she where Tori comes back in to go get her bag or something.
Yeah.
And she has to overhear that she didn't really win. That Terry had greased the fucking wheels. Oh, that was good. That was good. We've been wanting that since Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
Because we, even back then, the theory was that Terry Silver would pull a stunt.
Yep.
And now here we are. All these years. Everything that we were afraid of in Karate Kid Part 3 has happened now, 35 years later. It's crazy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So Sam loses. I thought it was really sweet that not only did Daniel run over and grab Sam and help her up, but Johnny did just the same. It was like she had two dads for a moment.
Yeah.
And they were all just like a happy family. To me, it was like the first Rocky movie. Like, he loses in the ring, but he wins in life. That's how I felt for Sam. Because Sam's been a real bitch this season again, you know? She's been starting fights left and right. I mean, she started a fight less than 24 hours before this at that after party, right?
Yeah.
With Tori. She can't stop picking on Tori now.
Right.
So, but still, regardless, we know somewhere Sam means well and thinks she's right. And it was just, that was a sad scene when she lost and they picked her up and they just had to kind of head off with her. Yeah. So then we get into the final. Now, these last three scenes, do you think the order matters here? Because then we got the last three scenes. We got the closing of the Miguel story.
We've got multiple cliffhangers.
Right? Tons.
That is balls out nuts.
Balls out nuts. We got the cliffhanger of the Miguel story. We got the cliffhanger for everything that happened with Kreese and Silver and Stingray therefore as well. And then we get the Daniel ending with at Miyagi's grave with our man Chosen. See, to me, you kind of needed him to be in this order. Maybe
I think that last one had to be last.
Right. Okay. That's how I feel too. Yeah. This one, Chosen had to be the last thing you see. You couldn't do that and then jump over and show us the Kreese story, the Kreese ending. You couldn't do that. We needed this to be last. Yeah. But yeah, this was
Could
really.
not pick my jaw up off the floor fast enough. Oh my word!
I love it. As far as I'm concerned, give Chosen the next season or two. Let him be a major character. Fuck it. Yeah. I want Chosen to have huge wars now with Mike Barnes, who's obviously coming back, and with Terry Silver. I want them to hate him as much as they hate Daniel. That's how I don't want Daniel and Johnny to be the stars for a season or two. I want Chosen to be up there with them. That'll be incredible. And Mike Barnes. Fuck it. Oh my God. And Terry Silver, of course. That goes without saying. What an ending with him framing Kreese the way he did. Wouldn't work in real life.
Yep. Terry Silver is back.
That moment when Terry looks at it, there's nothing darker.
Oh,
when
God,
Terry looks at him
so
and says, "I'm shedding my weakness, Captain." Jesus, I could rewind that scene over and over again. I'm shedding my weakness, Captain. He gave him a stern look and just knew what was about to go down, and I loved it. So anyway, guys, look, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, do the whole thing. Hey, someone disliked one of our videos. Don't fucking do that, please. If you dislike, just comment as to what the problem is. Don't dislike the video.
If you don't like it, click like.
See you tomorrow. Bye.